For 4 days, 300 souls lived inside a bubble of music and connection. It was called the Jacob Collier Hideaway. It was a truly transformational experience, a place where everyone embraced exploration, openness, and curiosity. But what happens when you leave this bubble? When you're scattered back to your own corner of the world? For me, the experience was too meaningful to let it fade into a distant memory. So this podcast is my anchor, a space to share who you are, stories, inspiration, creative aspirations, and struggles. These are Hideaway Stories. And to begin each episode, I asked every guest to bring a song, a sound, a jingle that is meaningful to them, that inspired them. And this is the sound for my next guest. Hey, Ash.
Hey, how are you?
What is this sound? Why did you choose this?
Okay, so I chose the ocean because the ocean has been so integral, I think, to the development of who I am as a person. I grew up that actually is a soundbite from the ocean right next to where I grew up. And my dad was a surfer and a musician, and he used to go to the beach really early in the morning, and sometimes he would take us when I was even like really little. I remember going and sitting on the beach at about 6 or 7 a.m. and watching him surf. And um and then the other thing that my dad did that I loved was play a lot of guitar. So like I'd kind of like there would be some days where I'd wake up in the morning and I would hear the ocean at the beach, and then as I was falling asleep, he'd be playing guitar always. And um, I think that the ocean has this incredible quality of movement and sound that's unpredictable and vast, and kind of a big macrocosm of so many microcosms of our lives. Like recently, actually, I was getting some body work done. I don't know if you know what that is. You know what body work is? It's like deep massage where they create space in your fascia, which is like the microfibers in your tissue, in order to heal. And it was so painful, and it's so emotionally charged. Like that's supposedly where you store all your emotions. And I was crying, but then I started to like naturally just breathe deeply through my nose for minutes. Like it was like 10 minutes where I just went into this like rhythmic breathing. And I thought of you because I was like, this so ties into the ocean, because it sounded like the ocean. And I just kind of channeled the ocean, like, once I made that connection, and so much and then I was just able to, like, release all of this stuff, by just going into this, like, meditative breath that was inspired by the ocean. But anyway, yeah, I think that
Mm-hmm.
there's just it's such a musical the sound of the ocean is such a musical phenomenon to me.
How does it? First of all, where was that? Where you grew up?
I was born in Santa Monica, and I grew up in a small town called Pacific Palisades, which actually, um, a vast majority of it burned down earlier this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. Did you see the fires? It was actually past a year now. It was January 7th, 2025. Yeah. So that was a wild experience.
Huh.
And it affected a lot of my close friends and family.
Wow, that's so hard.
Yeah.
Did they lose their houses?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I mean, I know hundreds of people who lost their homes. And yeah, I actually just went back for the first time maybe about a month ago because I just couldn't do it. I mean, the dance studio that I grew up and was at every day burned down. My school burned down. My elementary school burned down. Part of my high school burned down. The theater that I grew up performing in burned down. Just kind of so much of like my childhood
Oh,
backdrop. Um,
and how are they rebuilding it? Like, what's the status now?
it's moving along, but I don't think it's ever going to be the same, you know. But I do think that, I think it will probably take 5 years before it starts to look normal again. But there are already houses being rebuilt.
Where did people sleep?
When their houses
Yeah,
burnt
when
down.
everything burned down.
Well, I mean, even the first night we had people here at our house, and so people went to their friends' houses. Many people went to hotels. Many people left town because it was an ordeal. I mean, this fire lasted, I think, for 2 weeks before it was fully put out. And the Altadena area was hit really hard too. So there was basically two smaller cities that burned down.
And so they moved away, them living somewhere else now?
Yeah, I mean, many people are renting homes and they're rebuilding, or some people actually moved away. And
Wow.
it's kind of an ongoing ordeal for many people. And a lot of kids too. So many of the kids, because I'm an educator, so many of the kids that I work with lost their homes.
What is the way that people deal with this? Like, do you see a consistency in maybe how they make sense of the situation, how they like the narrative they have, maybe it's community things. Like, how do you see people dealing with this?
Well, there's a vast array of responses and reactions to something like this, and I think that there was so much community outreach, especially in LA. Just everybody in the city w- was out there helping. I felt like there were people I think who were ignoring it, but there were many people out there giving their time to help others. They had so many donations that they had to stop them. So the community rallied together, but there's a lot there's interesting responses. A lot of people blame the government, which I think that the government definitely played a part. There was an aspect of unpreparedness by certain groups in the government. But I also feel that this is a definite climate change issue, and the narrative hasn't been about climate change. Most of the time, when I hear people talking about it, they blame like government officials, but the wind was 80 miles an hour. So it's that's something that
Wow.
we don't see here. And that was wild. I mean, we went up on our roof. We have like a little roof deck, and we went up and we watched. Like I could see the flames from the deck, and it was really scary. But what was even more scary was like I was losing my balance on the roof, so I eventually just like came inside, and I was like, "This isn't safe." But um, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, it's always somewhere else in the world until it's not. So,
Right, right,
I mean, of course, you see the pictures, and of course, you see the devastating things that are shared on social media, and it's just horrible. But I mean, when you're in Germany, at least, it's not that you have so first contact, first hand experience from what happened. So,
right.
yeah, I'm so sorry for everybody who has to still go through this.
Me too.
How are the children taking it?
I think children are really resilient. Um, and I think that the Palisades, when I was growing up there, it was an affluent area, but not like it had become. Like it became an extremely affluent area. So, but not everybody is affluent who lives there. There's people who've been there, like my friends' parents who've been there since the 80s. A lot of them are teachers and dental hygienists. Like they're not like investors or lawyers or, some of them are lawyers, but you know what I mean? Like I think they have a lot of resources, but some people don't. But I think that when it comes to the children, I think the parents have been doing a really good job of just helping them heal and getting them, the help that they need, whether that's therapy or um, participating in the community activities to help with like the processing of the loss. Because it is. I
Yeah,
mean, it's it's
that's
it's a
good to
crazy
hear.
thing to think about being a kid and just being like, oh, my entire town burnt down. Like that's a really traumatic event.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Um, I'll just come back to you. Sorry, I mean, this is, I don't know how to transition from that.
I know. Sorry, it started so dark.
I mean, that's life, so I
Yes, it is.
let's not ignore life, I guess. So,
Mhm.
but let's talk about your life, which has started for some in this episode, and with this sound. And you already mentioned a word that I wrote down, and I want to dig into it. And you said the ocean is musical. How do you see that, and what does it do for your music that you make, and how is the ocean inspiring your music? Is there any connection?
Well, I think a lot of the music that I've been influenced by has been inspired by like kind of surf. Some of it is surf music and has been inspired by bands who lived by the ocean. Even just like Jack Johnson, the Beach Boys. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's that, and then there's also when you spend a lot of time with the ocean, you feel this rhythmic pull of the tide. It's like moving in and out. It's very rhythmic, it's very controlled, and it also changes all the time. And there's this beautiful, like, moving aspect of it. And I think that that is what music is. And music, for me, music making doesn't need to be perfect at all. Like, I'm very much in a space of play right now with music. And I think the ocean is a really playful place. It can also be really dark and scary and catch you off guard and like pull you into it. It's a dramatic thing, it's a dramatic phenomenon, the ocean to me. And I know people don't grow up near it, so they might not really understand that, but there's also all these little nuances of sound. Like if you're sitting there, you can if it's super like foamy, you hear like the little crackles of the bubbles dissipating as the tide washes back in, and you hear the seagulls. Like there's also like all the ambient sounds around the ocean, and I love to hear the screams of people playing in the ocean or playing volleyball or and just the people talking. There's so much that happens around it. It's it's a beautiful place. So, in terms of music, I feel like yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that has been like a constant source of rhythm in my life. It's a place that I go to find myself again and to connect back to the earth. And I always feel re-inspired and reinvigorated, kind of like cleansed when
Do
I
you
go.
write?
Do I write at the ocean?
Do you write in general, writing
Yes.
songs?
Yes.
And do you write, like, do you specifically go to the ocean to write?
I don't specifically go to the ocean to write,
Hmm.
but maybe I should. I definitely
I was,
feel
yeah.
like when I'm out in nature, wherever I am, especially if I'm in a space of like not having to work and like on vacation or whatever, I always want to write if I'm near the ocean. Like, especially we go to Hawaii a lot here just because it's not too far from us. Not a lot, but maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years. And whenever I'm in Hawaii, I just want to write and write. There's so many things that inspire me there. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, because I saw the connection of, I mean, being grounded is a good way to receive, and be inspired is a good way to write, right? So that's why I thought, oh, maybe there is a connection where this is something that you do. Um, but I'm interested in the process. So what is your writing process? How does it usually come about?
Well, I'm still working. It's an ever changing process, but mostly it's intuitive. So I think that setting the stage for my writing process personally involves um, a couple of things, and one of them is like good health practices, like eating healthy, is really important, and working out definitely inspires me to write more. I think my head is clearer and more comes in. But otherwise, like, it doesn't necessarily, there's times when I'm not eating healthy or working out and I'm inspired. I'm just more inspired to write when I'm filling my body with clean things. And that's been kind of a theme lately. But I think that um for me, I get really inspired in places that are that feel safe, like the shower. I always write in the shower. I always turn my phone on and put a voice memo on. I have so many weird voice memos that are like 20 minutes long, and there's minutes and minutes of just, shower sound. And then like the melody comes through again. And so I sift through them and I pull little things. And most of the time I don't do much with them. But last night I heard like a whole arrangement for Life on Mars by David Bowie in my head, like a harmonic piece. And I went straight to my computer afterwards and made it. So that was fun.
Let me stay with your writing process first. Um, do you voice is your main instrument,
Voice is my main instrument.
and do you play other instruments?
I don't consider myself a player of any other instruments, but I do write on the piano.
Hmm.
And I play a little bit on the ukulele. My husband plays the ukulele. So
Okay,
we have
okay.
two, and I'll mess around on it. And that's something that I'm gonna put a lot more time into this year, is writing or learning to play the piano and the ukulele. But I write a
So
lot
what?
with my voice, and I like to layer and stack my voice. And I've done this because it's the only I don't play an instrument. And I thought for so long in my life that like I wasn't good enough because I didn't play an instrument, or I just wasn't equipped to make music. And then I had this kind of epiphany, that my voice is a great instrument and that I can just use it to write. So,
I agree. Um, so what I understand is you write songs by singing.
Mhm.
You don't have pen and paper in front of you.
Usually not. And for me, melody comes first, and that's just, I think, what has been conditioned in me. I still do, but I was a professional dancer, and I'm a choreographer, and so much of even writing music for me comes from my experience with dance and choreography, and everything that I've learned from that, which I spent probably 10,000 hours doing that. So I just took all of those lessons that I learned, and then I've translated them into this music practice that I have, because I was always like carrying around this thing my whole life, like from high school, of just lyrics. And I didn't know why I was writing them. And I didn't know that I was a musician. I knew I could sing and I loved to sing. And I participated a lot in choir growing up. And I would perform with my dad at coffee shops, and a local church recruited me to sing. So I had all these experiences singing. I was in musicals, but I didn't know that I was a songwriter at all. And then I looked one day and I was like, you know what? I have all these lyrics, and I think there's something inside me that wants to write. And so I started writing, and it just came so naturally to me. And I don't know, I'm kind of like, I just follow the path of the little crumbs of my subconscious, if that makes any sense.
How do because that you just wrote down lyrics without a song in mind, just writing down lyrics?
Yeah, that's what I was doing for many years. I was just almost writing poetry, but I think when I was writing it, I was thinking that they were lyrics. I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is a poem. I was
Mm.
thinking they were lyrics, but I don't know why. I just did it, and it wasn't something that I worked on, but I don't know. I did. It was weird that I kept doing that in a way.
How does it turn into a song?
Well,
So you
so
yeah. Yeah, please. Yeah.
well, I started taking voice lessons in my early 20s, mid 20s, because I decided that I just wanted to explore that again, and I missed singing. And I had this one teacher, shout out to Sarah Evelyn Edwards, who is now like a famous YouTuber. She talks about castles. She's so cool. And she was so inspiring and encouraging to me. Like, she was just like, this is your thing. Like, you could have been this type of singer or this type of singer if you had known. And in one way, I was kind of sad when she said that, but it also gave me a lot of confidence and courage. And so I just went, well, you know what? I'll start it now and go down this path. And I would go to rent a karaoke room in Little Tokyo in LA, like in the middle of the day at 12 p.m., and sing for like an hour or two. So I just kind of like got that channel open within myself. Like, I really believe in creative channels that we have. And it was cool. There were other people randomly there too. So I'd meet cool people. And then I started to realize, oh, there's like a community here. I would love to be a part of that. And once I opened that channel, then melody started to come in often. And I started with voice memos, and I still use voice memos all the time to just get any idea out that I have at any time. And then a friend of mine, maybe like 8 years ago, said to me, like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to use one of the, you know, um, production programs. I forgot which one it was, but anyway, Ableton or something. And he said, could you arrange a version of Retrograde by James Blake? And I was like, I have no idea about how to do that, but I'll try. And so I did it, and it turned out great. And I had so much fun, and it came so naturally to me that I was like, I want to do this all the time.
That's a big song also.
Yeah, it's a great song.
And what do you mean rearrange? Like just with voice or
Yeah, actually, he asked me to cover it, and then I ended up doing like
ah,
a lot of just like harmony stacks all over the place, like vocal stacks, and I didn't even know what those were, but I just kind of kept going. And
is that um available somewhere?
yeah, I can send that to you.
Yeah, please. But it's not out like on Spotify or anywhere.
No, it's like, I think he put it up on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, please send it to me. I
I
would
will.
love. Can I include a small like snippet
Sure.
of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We were loved now. Suddenly I'm here. Is this darkness of the dawn? And your friends are gone. And your friends won't come. So show me where you feel.
So I think to go further, it's probably better if you introduce yourself, like who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, because I think that helps with the next, like with orientation for the next topics.
Okay.
Maybe Yeah, maybe. So who are you? Where are you from? What are you
I-
doing with your life?
yeah, I love it. Okay, so my name is Ash, and I'm from California. I was born in Los Angeles in Santa Monica, and I consider myself a creative. So I'm an educator and a coach and a mentor to many youth. I work one-on-one with people. I work as a faculty member, which I'm actually going to stop doing that this year and to focus more on music. I'm really excited about that. But I was a choreographer. I was an actor. I'm in the Screen Actors Guild. So I've kind of done a lot of performance. And then now I'm really honing in on songwriting and singing and learning how to do that and releasing music. And then my goal is to put all of my skills together and I'd like to do some videos where, it's like I've written the music, I'm singing the music, I've choreographed like a full dance video with multiple people, and then perhaps like do storyline videos with acting and kind of creatively direct all of that. So that's the path that I'm heading in. And then I also want to continue to be an educator and speak and be a part of the artist community um, in the entire world. Like that's my dream, is to travel around and help facilitate arts education, dance, dance and music, and just talk about creativity, and then just you know be creating and releasing and hopefully performing stuff too.
Let's let's go. Still stay with the voice memo, which is just to come back so that I don't miss this thought. Um, how many voice memos do you have on your phone?
I think I'm in the 700s, but let me check.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
718. I need to delete a lot of them, but I just
That's
haven't.
crazy. I mean, it's so funny because I was just talking to Drew
Hmm.
Angus, and
Hmm.
he has thousands of voice memos on his phone. And before him and you, I didn't know people who had more than 20. So,
Ooh, I love
so
this.
even I don't have many, like, because of course I can't sing, so there's not much to go from. But um, it's so interesting that you're the second person in a row that has 700 voice memos.
Well, I'll tell you this fact too. I think that about 400 were written in the last year and a half.
Wow. Is
So,
there one that you
yeah.
can play into the microphone just for like
Oh,
interest,
wow.
curiosity?
Yeah, of course. What do you want to hear? There's so many. Do you want to just hear like a
Is
little?
the did you somehow name them that you know what it's about?
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I have an idea. Which one was the closest one to Hideaway after Hideaway? And then like one that you really loved, maybe that had to do with Hideaway or something like that. That was inspired from Hideaway or something in that vein.
Okay, this is in the shower, so you're gonna hear the rain in the background. The rain, the shower rain.
That's so funny.
I think this is just like nonsense, but let me fast.
Hmm.
Um,
I can see some nice harmonies going with that.
yeah, it's a song called "Wasting Time" that I was working on for a second. I forgot about it, so I'm glad you asked me that question. Um,
And how far is wasting time in the process of being like
ooh, that's in the
produced?
beginning. That's like very in the beginning stages of like I haven't even finished the full structure of that song.
So you didn't even record anything for that?
No, there's just a bunch of voice memos about it, but it's cool and it gets stuck in my head. But I've been working on other things. So,
Wasting time. Okay. First of all, thank you so much for sharing. I really love it. This is so cool to hear all these different processes of people being creative and finding their. I've had so many metaphors already on this podcast. Let me stay with this voice memo. So when I said close to Hideaway and something that inspired from it, why did you choose this one now to show?
I just looked back at that time, and that was one of the voice memos. There was probably like 15 right after Hideaway that it stuck with me, and so I kept developing it. And
Mm. And was there a concrete link to Hideaway for that, or was it just off topic, something else?
yeah, there definitely was. I mean, I found. So I went to Susie Collier's retreat before Hideaway. It was in October, and then Hideaway was in August. Actually, I went to 2 of Susie's retreats before Hideaway.
Wow, jealous.
It was incredible, just so incredible. And I'm actually going to one next week, so I'm pretty fired up right now to be doing
Cool.
that again. And at the first one, I mean, I had already woken up this songwriter inside of me, but I was really unsure of it. Like I didn't fully believe that it was as big. It was like I knew how big it was, but I also had that self-doubt and a lot of a tendency to freeze up, of whether it was like freezing up in terms of like wanting to perform or performing, or just actually taking action and making music. So when I went to Hideaway, I had already, like, Susie had really woken up this power in me, and I was starting to play with it and believe in it. And I was actually getting music produced by the time I was at Hideaway. And I think Hideaway for me was it was just like an exclamation point for myself on the validation of you are enough. You don't need to know anything else to make music. You have everything you need. Of course, I need to learn I can learn and want to learn so much more and always be learning, but it was just this moment of you are enough as you are. And I felt very at home being around musical people. Like I just had the most incredible time the whole time. So that song, Wasting Time, for me was like, I spent so much time wasting time. Like I feel like I was dormant. You know what that means? It's like
Yeah.
it's like a volcano's like dormant. Like I was hiding.
What time are we talking about now? You mean before Hideaway or?
I feel like my whole life, like it in terms of music, I was like playing with it a little bit for like a couple weeks here and a couple weeks there for like the 10 years before I went to Hideaway. But um in the beginning of 2024, I set out to write an album. I was like, I have all these songs, like I'm gonna write and produce an album, or like finish writing and produce an album. And I didn't do that, which is why I went to Susie Collier's retreat, was to gain insight and inspiration about why I wasn't doing it. And I did produce one song by August of 2024, but that was all I had done. And so I really found out why I hadn't done it. I mean, there were so many things that I needed to learn and realize before making more music. And now I'm not so much on. I really love timelines and goals because I think it gives us like a mark to work towards, but I like to keep them flexible. So it's more important to me not to finish the album by a certain time, but that I just keep going with it and that it comes out at the right time. So that's where I'm with that.
So what is your goals currently? when you say you like goals?
I hope to finish an album by the end of 2027. Like a full album. I'd like to do 8 to 10 songs. But even like an EP would be great. But if I could get to a full album by the end of 2027, I would be super stoked about that.
And how many songs do you have so far?
I released 2 songs. Well, actually, I have one coming out in 2 weeks, but I released one song, and then I have a bunch that I'm working on. I mean, I have like probably 12 or 15 songs that I'm actively writing right now, but it's just choosing which ones of those songs. And I have a feeling I'll probably write different ones too. Like they
So
might
what
not even
is
make the cut.
what is the struggle to do it till the end of 2027?
The biggest struggle for me is production, is I'm learning about production, and I'm really picky about who I work with. And the reason that I'm picky about who I work with is because I think that I did have some experience. Like I did try to do music about 10 years ago, and it was I just worked with some people who were kind of discouraging, where I didn't have chemistry with them. And then when I finally like started working with a few people that I had chemistry with, I understood like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like when you're making music. So I think it's really important that we be honest with ourselves when we're picking collaborators. And it's okay if you don't have chemistry with somebody. It's just kind of like dating. If you don't have some chemistry with somebody, like, doesn't mean you're not going to find anybody that you're going to have chemistry with, which is something I kind of felt was like, maybe I just don't have it. But once I started to work with people where like everything just flowed really naturally, you like that. But that's my challenge in general. Is right now I'm trying to figure out who to work with, and I have one person that I'm working with to produce the stuff. And he brought in his friend, and they were both absolutely amazing to produce the song that's coming out in 2 weeks. But yeah, actively finding people. I like to work with people who don't have an expectation except to make something great. In LA, there's this big push of like, let's do this to make money or for the music industry or whatever. And I think in those lines sometimes, but not about the art that I'm making. I just think like, okay, I actually do want to make music that's accessible to many people. But I also am not super judgmental about it either. Like, I just want to make something that I love and that whoever I'm working with is really excited to work on too.
What's the name of the song that's going to come out?
It's called Part of Me.
Part of Me. Okay. And you wrote it?
I did. I wrote it. I wrote all of the top line and did all the vocals and the lyrics. I did have a friend come in and tweak a few things for me, and she's a really talented songwriter. Her name's Eva Rose, and she's out there on Spotify. You can check her out. But she's a great guitar player. So she came in and helped me change a couple of the chords. And then I wanted to work with a very talented musician that is on faculty at the school that I work at, and his name is Chris Kapika. And I approached him and played him a bunch of songs that I want to get produced. And he picked part. He said, I want to work on that song. So I said, great. So he came over. And the first thing that we did was write a bass line. Mostly he was writing the bass line, but we worked on it together and made some changes to it and loved it. And that happened really fast. And then we started to work.
Why the bass line?
Because he's an incredible bassist. And
okay.
I just felt I love the bass.
Okay.
I think as a dancer, it's just like the bass is really important. And I like to make music that people can dance to. It's not necessarily a dance song. Like I wouldn't put it, it's not, it's like an indie pop song, but I like anything that vibes, like where it gets your body moving. And then so after we did the bass, we came into this room and I think this is cool. If I have a bag around here somewhere, it's a brown paper bag and it has a broken cookie jar in it. And we were finding things to make percussive sounds with. And so I passed him a cookie jar it was like a dog cookie jar. And he picked it up by the top of it, and the bottom fell out, and the whole thing broke. And he looked at me, and he was like, "I'm so sorry." And I immediately said, "Don't worry about it. That was supposed to happen. Let's figure out what we're supposed to do with these pieces." So then we put all the pieces into a brown paper bag, and then we just shook them into this mic and made some really cool sounds. I used a tap shoe. I chant. I practice Buddhism, and I chant with these beads. So like there's like bead sounds like going like this in the mic. And what else did we use? We used a metal chair, a metal yoga chair, and we just hit it. And then there's the sound that kind of sounds like a samurai sword in it, and that is my Stanley Cup water bottle. So it was fun to just get creative with what we had here. And I think that for me, the whole experience made me realize how much potential is around you to create music. Going back to the ocean, I'd love to go and, record the ocean one day and put that into music. I just think that unique sounds are fun.
Yeah, I especially love doing your own drums. And I think there is, first of all, I think breaking things is the best, like hi-hats and snares and percussion. Especially like what you have, I don't have 700 recordings, maybe I have 20, but when I have some, it especially has to do with breaking ice, like when there's a frozen like puddle or a lake. I have so many recordings of me cracking down on the ice because there's something about it that you cannot reproduce. I don't know how, but it's so cool and it's so snary. But also, if you put it under a kick drum, it just gives you so much weight. It's so great.
If you put it under a cake drum, what's a cake drum? Oh, a
Like
kick drum, a kick drum.
like a bass drum, kick drum, like a kick.
I thought you said
I don't
cake,
know.
and I was really excited about it. I
Oh,
was
a
like, a
cake
cake
drum.
drum?
Yeah, no, I maybe you should invent this, but no, I don't mean a cake drum.
That is really cool. Do you have any recordings that you could play of the ice?
Oh, many, yeah, of course.
I'd love to hear that.
So many. Oh, and also I just saw that leaves, like autumn leaves, like if you just crack them, they're also so good. Broken glass, I have that. Here's ice cracking.
Wow.
If you put that under a kick drum snare, like layer it on top of some hi-hat, it's so great. And especially because
cool.
you have so many crackles
Mm-hmm.
that you can put them in super wide stereo, and then it's just so full.
Mm-hmm.
It's super cool.
That's
What I
awesome.
also found is anything that you do with your voice, with your mouth, like disgusting sounds that you would never actually do, like this, like just anything that, like breathing, like. And if you just compress the hell out of it, there is so, like, do you know OTT, the plugin?
No.
No, OTT. You should get that. I think that has to be part of everyone's arsenal. The OTT plugin. It's basically an over exaggerated compressor, and you don't actually use it as a compressor. You just use it to boost every tiny little sound so much to the surface that it's just one flat line. There is no dynamics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have sounds like these, it brings out so crazy situations with like possible drum elements. I can recommend that as well.
Yes, please. These are the things that I have to learn. So right now, even I'm working in GarageBand. Like my to-do list is like by Logic this week because I want to become more proficient and be able to create more of a cohesive blueprint of whatever it is that I'm working on. But the possibilities are overwhelming and really exciting. Just hearing the way that you're fired up about that particular
My wife always thinks I'm like like we're at an airport and I'm just standing there with my phone, like it's some random place where somebody's, I don't know, hammering something into a wall, and I'm just standing there, and she's like, "Oh my god, he's recording again." Like, I'm I'm so weird for that.
I feel you. I mean, in restaurants, that's something that I heard at the Hideaway. I'm sure you did too. Of like when you get that inspiration, you have to take it. So a lot of times I'll be sitting in a restaurant in the middle of a conversation. I'll be like, I'll be right back, and I just walk out with my voice memo. But my husband's gotten
Yeah,
used to it as well.
yeah, yeah. And then it's like, okay, you have to stand here, and I'm going to clap, and you tell me if the echo is great. Something like. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. And she's just now used to it since, I mean, we're together since 18 years, so she's used to
Wow.
my weirdness. But yeah, it's funny. It's really funny.
That's really cool. Is she a musician as well?
No, no, she's a doctor. She has nothing to do with that.
That's
But
awesome.
but we have a very similar music taste, which is probably one of the most important
Mhm.
criteria for me.
Mhm.
I don't think I could have a long lasting relationship when somebody's just not listening to this, like, similar music.
I fully agree with you on that,
I don't
Philip.
even know how a car ride would work, or
That
like,
was one of the first things that, I noticed about my husband when we were first dating. I think it was, like, the first 5 weeks that we were dating. It was 4th of July, and he said, "Hey, do you wanna go to this place called Lake Havasu?" Which we ultimately had it was not the best trip, but the car ride went by really quickly because we both were just fired up going back and forth playing each other music, and we kind of realized, oh, we're on the same vibe. We like all the same stuff. And we're also excited. It became very apparent to me that music was a big part of his life. So I think that's important in a relationship too.
yeah,
Unless you both don't like music, but if you like music, it's
hmm
it's a wonderful thing to share.
yeah, it's always like, I'm always the guy who wants to show people music. Like, oh, I have a new song, and then there's of different friends, it's different kind of songs that
Yeah.
I share. It's so crazy. I mean, I still have I'm not sure. Probably I cut it out, but I still use Apple Music, like
Mhm,
the app, and I
mhm.
have currently, I'm looking at it, 11,700 songs in there,
Okay.
which is, but that now comes my nerdiness, which is all rated with stars,
Mhm.
like with this, like 12,000 songs rated with stars, and only those that have 3 stars and above are still in the library.
Okay.
So there's no song underneath three
Under 3
stars
stars.
unless it has basically a very specific purpose. Yeah. Let's come back to you. Let me just talk about the educator part, because this is currently very on top of mind for you, since you're stopping, or that's what you said, like, you're part of a
Shifting.
faculty shifting.
Yeah, I'm
So
on
let me,
faculty. Yeah.
okay, what kind of education topic, like, what are you
I'm
teaching?
on faculty at an all-girls progressive school. It's 6th grade through 12th grade. It's a phenomenal school, and I teach a 6th and 7th grade advanced dance group, and then I teach a 9th grade dance company and an 11th grade dance company. And then I teach
Wait.
improvisational.
Sorry, I don't understand that. A ninth grade dance company?
Yeah, so we have companies for each grade at our school, like a small company of dancers.
Company, not as in a firm.
Yes, not as in a firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
we call it
Okay.
like a company of dancers. So
I
I have
thought,
the
what,
ninth grade.
ninth grade company? I really didn't get it. Okay.
I'm the CEO of a ninth grade company. No, yeah, no, it's it's pretty much. Yeah. And then so ninth grade and 11th grade, and then I teach improvisational theater. I teach middle schoolers. I teach a sixth grade, like I teach every sixth grader comes to me for a rotation. So I teach them like an introduction to improvisational theater. And then I have an advanced middle school group that does improvisational theater that's more like invitation only. And they're kids who are really dedicated to it and just love the craft. And then I also help do like performance coaching and do the choreography. I'm a co-choreographer with the director for the musicals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, middle school musical and a high school musical. So we did Legally Blonde for the high school musical this past fall, and right now we're in the middle of Newsies, which is really fun. It's a great musical, great music.
Newsies. I never heard of that.
It's set in 1899 or 1900, and it's about the newspaper boys starting a union. So it's like
Okay.
unionization against corrupt corporations, which is very
Uh-huh.
um, applicable to our current situation.
Yeah, history repeating itself.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about dance and improvisational theater. What would be tips that you have
Mhm.
for dancing? Like, I guess people are on different levels of comfortability, like how comfortable they are with dancing.
Mhm.
And especially like there's shame attached to it. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's sometimes similar with how it is with voice. Maybe not as stigmatized as voice or as shameful as voice, but I remember when I was young, like in my teens, and I like I wanted to be cool, and cool
Mhm.
guys, they don't dance. So of course you never saw me on the dance floor, that's for sure. I was the cool guy in the corner, like looking at the dance floor. So yeah, what a crazy thing I had in my mind. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm saying this because what is tips that you have, maybe, that if people want to first of all understand maybe why dancing might be beneficial, and what can you do to improve your dancing?
Oh, wow. There's just so much there that you just brought up. So, first of all, I would just love to like go back in time and take 18-year-old or 15-year-old Philip onto the dance floor
Yeah,
because
you wouldn't have. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
then
because
you would have to be a love interest very much, and also like the dancing, like, how do you say, intimately. That would be the only chance. I would not just
oh,
dance for fun.
okay. There's a lot of criteria there.
I was so ashamed of, like being seen.
Mm,
That's the
mhm.
so it was more of an insecure. Of course, I brushed it off as being cool, but of course, it was just insecurity.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's being a teenager for you, but it's just so fascinating to me because I don't know. I've just been so inundated in the world of dance for so long, and I know so many guys who dance, and I agree. I think back then there was a lot of stigma, and people don't want to look silly. It's an easy thing for people to make fun of, but I think that it's an easy thing for people to make fun of because people are jealous of it. I think dancing is such a wonderful, enjoyable expression of the spirit that's so unique to humans. That it's really is, that phrase, "Are we humans or are we dancers?" I have a theory that we are dancers. If, there are very few people that I've met who really can't dance, and I think that when they can't, it's more their subconscious holding them back from it than anything. Uh, but okay, so to tackle your question, I think when it comes to encouraging somebody to dance, I would say create a safe space first. So, especially if you're nervous, like you should definitely be in a place where there's less of a chance of you retreating back into yourself and, you know, feeling inhibited. I think music is a huge part of it. You have to feel the music and get excited about what you're hearing and let your body take over, because it really is on a deep level, on an advanced level, not advanced, but it's a motion of the spirit. It's not something to think about, but there's technique involved like music, right? So there's technical aspects of it that will give you more freedom, just like there are with being a singer or with playing an instrument. You can find more freedom if you practiced technical exercises, but ultimately the possibilities are kind of endless. And we're seeing that in the dance world now. It's like I see things done that have never been done before and that just give me goosebumps.
Like
I
what?
guess I'm going off into a tangent again, but my point is everybody can
Just to
dance.
stay there for a second. Uh, like you see stuff that has never been done before. Like what?
Um, like the way that people are moving is so fluid that it doesn't look real.
Oh, okay.
The combination of styles, like all the styles are fusing together and you're just getting the types of dancers that we've never seen before. Like dancers who kind of feel like they, it's like that they're taking pieces of hip hop and maybe acrobatics and modern dance and ballet, and they're fusing it all together to a song that you wouldn't expect. And it's just really unique and beautiful and moving. It's just incredible what's happening. But I think that like having the space to mess up and not like being in a safe space with music that inspires you and learning that like you can dance with your finger, you can dance with your hand, like just starting to experiment like in terms of movement, like I can dance with my head. It's all about your connection to the music. And something that I often say to my dancers is that I really think of dancing as like going back to surfing, because surf was such a big part of my life growing up. Like it's like you're surfing the sound waves, because even though they're invisible, they are passing through you. And so it's like, how can you catch the sound wave, or can you, like what way
Hmm.
can you feel it in your body? What place does it want to go to? And I'm getting more and more interested in studying and doing some work with improv dance, because I just think that there are so many health benefits to it, from like the meditative aspect of just letting go and moving, to letting your body dictate what it needs to do to move stuff out. So when I'm working with my students right now, I'll often say like, okay, and now I want you to take something inside of you that you need to let go of and just like push it into the ground through your dance move. And there's so much, people have so much inside of them that they need to let go, and you see it come out. And then you see the shift between the way that a dancer walked into class versus the way that they're leaving. And it's an extraordinary shift. And scientists don't really know why we dance, but their theories are, some of them are like to shake off trauma. And as they're studying the brain of dancers, they're seeing that their brains work in completely different ways. I mean, same thing with musicians. Just like the way that the synapses are firing are very different. The way that they interpret information is different. But yeah,
So,
the emotional benefits too. I mean, they do. There was, I think, there's multiple studies, but I know that they're finding out that dance is like as effective in 50% of the participants of studies involving antidepressants. So they're finding out that like people who start dancing versus the people who go on antidepressants are just as happier. Like they experience an increase in happiness that is equal to or greater than being on an antidepressant.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, antidepressants, and especially it's more sustainable, right? I mean, when you take antidepressants, basically you more or less have to keep taking them. But
Mhm.
with dance, the entire depression, or with, let's say, ways, it doesn't have to be dance, but of course it's a good way of going there.
Mhm.
It changes your entire way of not being depending on the antidepressants. So it's just a natural way of going about it, and of course it's much more sustainable and much better.
Well, you got to keep dancing, but yes.
I wouldn't say so, no.
You wouldn't say you have to keep it up?
No, not from my experience. I worked with a lot of people who have depression,
Mhm.
and I do use different techniques, but there is something. Depression is a lack of emotional resonance. So if you have technique to go back into your body and activate an emotional awareness and richness, almost always the depression is gone.
That makes sense. Yeah, because yes, there are chemical things happening too, but I think also it's like y- part of depression is being really out of your body. You're
Yeah,
not
and
present.
very emotionally deprived. It's like, yeah,
Well, it's
and
usually a lot of it can be suppression too. It's like you've cut yourself off because you're not wanting to feel
yes,
certain things. And that's why
yes,
even with my young kids, like they could be dancing and they start crying,
yeah, I
you
understand
know,
that
because there's
immediately.
something that that the song is bringing up for them or the dance is bringing up for them
Yeah,
that they need to release. So,
yeah. I mean, there's so much you could say about this, and of course, I've made a very simplified version of it. So please, no one in anyone write me about like it's much more complex than that. Yes, I know,
yes.
but it was just an average comment on depression. So,
Right.
yeah,
We're
nothing.
talking like large conceptual ideas.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. I found that really interesting. The dance part. So, how about improvisational theater? What did you learn from that? Like, how did you get into it? And what did you learn from that that can be applied to, I don't know how large you want to make it, life, humanity, creativity, like how, take it wherever you want.
Whenever I would see great improvisational theater, um, especially I love musical theater improv, and I did that for a while as well. But like the people who are masters at musical theater improv are just so impressive because they can put on a full musical that kind of pretty much makes sense from start to finish and it's all improvised. They have a band there, but in general, like there was a book that I read called Improvisation for the Spirit that really affected the way that I thought about improv. And then as I started to actually take classes and do it because I was an actor and wanted to get better at comedy, I realized that the life benefits of it are just incredible because essentially, like, you're training yourself to always think about possibility versus shutting down ideas. Because everything in improv is yes and it's building rather than taking away. So, like, with improv, if you say something, I have to validate it and then I have to add on. And so we're building a scenario together. And so not only is it's a team effort as much as it is like a solo endeavor. I mean, you could do like an improv monologue, but you're also interacting with other people, whether it's one person or an entire team of people to create. And it creates, wonderful ability to collaborate within yourself in terms of just like being open to other people's ideas and supporting other people's ideas. And you have to be uber flexible because our brains are moving quickly as improvers. We're creative, and you have storylines in your head of how this thing can go, and one person says one thing and that derails the entire idea that you had, and then you just have to go with their idea. But I think that that's the beauty of it, is like we just keep saying yes, so it keeps you in a very present moment space of active listening. And we're living in a world where our brains are splitting in terms of we can watch a movie and we're scrolling on our phone at the same time, or, talking to people and scrolling on our phone, or there's just so much information and input coming at us. So I think that there's no better time to practice improvisational theater than right now, because it'll make you dive into the present moment, especially if you're performing it on stage too. You really have to be present.
How is it? I mean, I don't know about others, but I feel that improv comedy is quite, people know what it is. I think most people have seen something of it. How is improvisational musical theater different in a sense that, like, if I try to anticipate what it might be, I could see that it could also be very avant-garde and very like it's always so meaningful.
Mhm.
Like everything is like so meaningful, and that it's so interpretable, and that it has such a strong message. And I always feel that to me, sometimes it's too heavy, like not too heavy from the topic, but too heavy from the, oh yeah, I heard what you wanted to say to me, so that you already said it for half an hour, and I get what you want to tell me. Thank you so much for, I got the message, and they're over and over. And I feel that there is some criticism that maybe it's me, I don't know, but I find it sometimes that way. And for improvisational, I feel that there is probably no concept. There is probably nothing that you can foresee. And I'm asking, even like, how do you get a coherent storyline for when does it end? Like there's so many questions I have for that.
Well, it's practice, and you do learn the structure of how to structure an entire story, right?
Oh,
So,
so okay, there is structure to it.
yes,
Okay,
there's
okay.
structure to it, and you practice kind of the structure, but the structure is it's still improvised. So whatever story you're telling is a completely new story. But most storytelling has, you've got a beginning and middle and end, and you have like arcs in each scene, and you have conflict and conflict resolution.
The typical storytelling methods.
Yes, exactly. If you're doing
Okay,
improv
okay.
musical theater specifically, other improv, not necessarily, because we have a lot of different like improv games and exercises that you might be playing on stage. But for musical theater in general, I mean, especially even with a song, it's like when I was like, what are we going to learn? You know, the first class I ever took. And the first thing that you learn is you learn how to improvise a song. And so you learn that if you're going to improvise a song, you better improvise a chorus that is easily memorable because you're going to forget all the words if you don't. So I remember like the first chorus I ever improvised, I still remember it was like, slippity slide, slide, slippity slide, I slipped on a banana, I slipped on a banana. Slippity slide, slide, slippity slide, I slipped on a banana, or something like that. And so everybody immediately was able to sing it with me. But if I had made it like some wordy, you know, storyline for a chorus, I wouldn't have remembered it. And then they wouldn't have been able to join in. So that is what is also cool is you kind of have a little bit of a structure of like, okay, well, if I'm go into the song, I'm going to start the song and then I'm going to sing the chorus once. And then we all know that everybody's going to like my whole cast will join in with me on the second time that the chorus happens. And then usually, you know, you have like the bridge is always like an opposing view. So like that's an easy thing to do. It's like whatever I was saying in the verses, now I'm going to oppose it with like, you know, if it was all about how I am clumsy and I slip on bananas, then maybe the bridge is like, but I kind of like it. It feels kind of dangerous when I slide and I feel that squish underneath my feet. You know, whatever it is, at like I'm going down and time slows down as I fall down to my knees. I don't know. It's just like you just kind of go for it. And I think even doing musical theater improv, obviously, like this has helped me a lot in songwriting because, again, you
Yeah.
lose that sense of self consciousness when you practice it. And going back to the comedy of it, you don't take yourself too seriously anymore. And you know, you paint a lot of practice pictures or you bomb on stage and you get used to failing, and that's okay because maybe you fail. I mean, I definitely feel like the first group that I was in, we failed a lot before we got funny, and that was fine. It's all part of the process, you know. I'll say this. Can I say this really quickly? One of the
Yeah, yeah,
coolest parts
please.
of musical theater improv that I love is that as an actor, you're on stage and it's the band that decides when the song's gonna happen. So you might be having a moment on stage and they know whoever's leading the band is like, this is the perfect time. But
Oh,
they
so they are
choose.
part of the improvisation.
Yes. And they
Uh,
choose the type of song. So like maybe you're going through like a dramatic breakup and you hear an intro to kind of like a tango type song, you know, that's like really vampy or something like that. And you're like, okay. And sometimes it's always funny to watch like an actor be in it and in the scene and then like the song starts and they'll like look over at the band like, okay, we're going this direction, kind of like laughing to the band. Okay, well, I'm going to go for it. But, you know, there's the element of like that collaboration of I don't get to choose what this song is going to sound like except for the
that's
melody.
actually cool.
Yeah, there's a great group. I don't know if they're still performing. If you're ever in LA, it's called Baby Wants Candy. And then there was another one called Diamond Lion, but they're, you know, find a local one. I don't know if you guys have any near you, but they're really fun to watch.
No, we
No?
don't. No, I'm sure we don't. I'm not sure. Well, of course, I'm saying that like it's fact, but maybe we do, but I never heard of it.
I could help. I'll do a little research for you. See if I can find
Yeah.
something.
So what did you take away from this? Like in a sense that how did it change you maybe in everyday life, maybe in being creative, maybe in interacting with people, like whatever it changed for you to do that improvisational theater?
Well, specifically, you know, because I had already done improvisational theater before I did improvisational musical theater. And doing the musical theater really helped me because even as an improviser in the early years, I was still very hesitant. I didn't, until you fully like drive home that concept of like yes and like yes, especially if you're a negative person, which I was pretty negative and fearful when I was younger. And that's something that I think that improv has changed in me because you can't you're up there on stage, you have to do something. But with musical theater improv especially, like this song is starting, I have to sing. You know what I mean? Like there's no backing out at this point. Like as an actor, you can talk your way out of being in a scene if you're scared versus like as a singer, you have to sing something and you have to make this work. And so it got me used to performing through a lot of fear because I would just kind of be like terrified and excited at the same time. And we were performing in front of fairly small, forgiving crowds. So I felt okay about it, but I don't know. I'd love to go back to it because I'm way more seasoned, especially after teaching this, because I've only been teaching improv for like 4 years now. But every year, like I understand it on a deeper level because anytime you teach something, you're teaching yourself. So yeah, it's with all of this stuff, with everything that I've done, the thing that I'm learning is it's all about having like a consistent practice of facing your fear of creation, learning how to let it go or learning how to work through it, finding joy and excitement versus nervousness, like transforming that feeling of nervousness into excitement versus anxiety because they're almost the same thing. Um, that's just where I am in my process.
Say that again. Say that sentence again. What is almost the same
Well,
thing? I think.
anxiety and like anxiety, like a fearful sense of nervousness versus like an exciting sense of nervousness are almost the same thing. Like what separates them is really like fear versus confidence or fear versus love, if you want to look at it that way. But I still get, there was a thing that I did early on as a kid just naturally. And then I started to talk to my students out loud about it, but I never, I would feel really nervous backstage before I was dancing and I would shake. And, but I was a great dancer. So I just had a lot of self-doubt because you can be, you know, um, well practiced at something and still have a lot of self-doubt. And so I would just take all of it and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to be amazing. Like I would like just channel it into like, instead of like this fear, I'd just be like, I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to shine. Which is
And it
also
worked.
like a little bit like intense because I was having intense feelings. It would absolutely work. It would
Hmm.
absolutely, I would just be like, I'm gonna make the crowd, like, I'm gonna make everybody smile in the crowd. Like, that was in some weird way my coping mechanism to like that I developed to be able to do it. Um,
Hmm. Hmm. That's
and
great.
now I still focus on the same thing when I'm nervous too. Like, I focus on like, okay, who's in the audience that like needs to be encouraged today? And can I just perform knowing that there's one person that might be touched by my performance? And maybe a lot more, but like, can I give to that person rather than being focused on myself?
Hmm. So you're focusing on the connection to the audience.
Yeah. And being
Yeah.
grateful that there's somebody sitting there who wants to watch you,
Yeah.
because they're there for a reason. They came to be uplifted. I don't think that they came there to get more depressed about life. They came there to, raise their vibes.
So you said you're going to change that faculty part that
Oh, yeah. Okay.
that you're
So
teaching to make more music.
yeah, I'm so overextended, right? I mean, I also have like my own private practice of clients that I coach too. And so right now it was just all of these things kind of like built up at once and um yeah, I'm ready to really focus on creating my own art again. I haven't done that in a long time.
What is your main income? The teaching part?
Yeah, teaching, and then my own business, like my own business of teaching and doing guest classes, but also like coaching one-on-one. So I'm going to do more coaching on one-on-one, and less teaching. I can coach one-on-one with people over Zoom, so it gives me a lot more time.
And that means dance as well, or voice, or what?
Yeah, I do dance, or like I even do life coaching, but like dance and life coaching, but I mostly life coach creative people who are
Mm, mm,
working towards creating things in their life, or for youth, just working towards solidifying and getting to know themselves and having creative freedom. Whether it's, I have a client who I've been working with her for years. And when I first started working with her, her goals were very different than they are now. And in the beginning, it was all about dance. And now that student is now working towards being an actor and a singer as well. And then those were all things that we kind of discovered. And
mm.
then I have clients who want to learn how to songwrite, or just understand how to open creative channels, and again, like, have a consistent practice. And I think for youth, it's really important for them to embody themselves as creatives, if that's the way that they identify, so that they know who they are from an earlier age, versus having any sort of like traumatic. There are so many ways that creatives have these like traumatic events happen to them where they lose their creativity. I mean, I know even for myself, like, I had a dance teacher who was very unsupportive, and it was a really tough experience for me. And I deal with clients who have had narcissistic dance teachers, and one of the reasons that they're working with me is just to heal those wounds and get back into class, because it was such a bad experience that they don't even want to go to class anymore.
Mm. I can
So,
imagine that.
yeah.
So what is your struggles? Like, what is struggles that you have, maybe that has to do with um changing the teaching aspect, and like going more into your business, or like having the making more music? Like, what is things that you're struggling with?
I think the biggest thing that I struggle with, and I think most people struggle with, is just self-doubt and fear. And exploring that. And instead of like hiding, like, there were so many years that I just didn't want to look at my fear or deal with it. And then the more that I actually faced it and dealt with it, the more empowered I became.
Can you say what fear it is?
I think, okay, so I think a big thing for me was a fear of being seen, but also wanting to be seen. On the deepest level, it was like I wanted
Mm.
to be seen for who I really am on the deep level. But I had some experiences as a kid where when I did show someone, whether it was an adult figure or a family member, like a part of myself that was a performer, and then that got shut down or made fun of in any way, you learn to hide those parts of yourself and you stop expressing who you really are. So, just doing the work to keep uncovering myself. I think one of the most important shifts that I've made is making sure that I had truly supportive people around me and that I have a support system. So, um, making sure that, like, I go to, if there is a group, there's like an a cappella jam group that I was going to for a while, and I just met great people who lifted me up and really saw who I was as an artist, and that gave me confidence, and it let me know that, like, there are people out there who love to do this, and you can find those people. Becca Stevens at the Hideaway said if she was on a desert island, somebody said, like, "Would you make music for if you were by yourself. And she was like, I don't know if I would. But she was like, but if there was one other person there, I probably would make music for them. And I think that there's a big part of doing art that is about being seen and sharing your gifts and wanting to connect to another person. Um, even for you as a teenager, dancing was about a little bit about wanting to connect to a romantic partner or whatever it is. Like there's this feeling of like, hey, I don't want to be alone.
Hmm.
And I think that I was very lonely for a long time, just kind of in denial of like, this is who I am. Um, but once you figure it out and you surround yourself with the right people, your joy like skyrockets. So I think that's been the antidote for me. I went to therapy. I hired a coach. She's unbelievable. That's part of the reason I became a coach. So I think making sure you have the support around you to go after whatever it is you want to do in life, no matter what it is. And it was funny because when I told the school to leave as a faculty member and go into more, part-time work, I like 3 days later somebody called me from another school and was like, "Can we hire you here?" So it was just really interesting. It was like the universe was testing me, but there was that fear of like, am I ever going to get a job like this again? Or, should I just feel so lucky to have this type of position? And then one popped up right away, and I felt like it was the universe just saying like, hey, look, it's here for you if you want it, but you don't need to take it right now. And it was also a test of like, no, I'm determined. Like, I'm really determined, and I feel like this is the right thing for me to do right now. And I think that when we make those decisions from our heart and from a place of faith, the universe opens a path for you. But it's not that the path doesn't open until you make the decision. And sometimes it does. But I think in my experience, I usually have to determine like, okay, I'm choosing this. And then the path opens. I mean, I had another job. I quit for a long time. I worked in studios as a dance teacher. And I was the director of a team. And I had built this team up. And it was really difficult for me to leave. And then the day that I decided to leave, and I hadn't even told anybody yet, um, like I met this person who became one of my biggest clients and they wanted to work with me right away. Like just literally showed up in front of me. So I think that when you make decisions and you take a leap of faith, the landing pad will appear for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I guess there's something to it. The problem is, of course, the jumping. What what I'm a coach as well, and I have an analogy for that when I talk with people, and I call or we like I work with somebody, but I call it spiritual bungee jumping,
Mm.
and it's basically like the moment that, for example, saying out loud to the faculty that you're going to leave or that you're going to be part time or whatever it is. That's like the moment where like there's something that you have to jump and then you cannot undo it. Like you cannot get the words back into your mouth, like they're spoken. So, and that is like, for me, it's like the moment it's bungee jumping. And I feel it's very interesting to explore what holds you back to be able to jump and how can you deal with having jumped. How do you work with that? Like how do you work with your body, with your heart, with your thoughts? And I feel that is very important. Yeah, as you said, being surrounded by people who also can help you with that somehow. I think the biggest epidemic that we have is loneliness.
Mhm.
And I feel that's something that unfortunately is even enhance us. I mean, we're so connected supposedly, but the way social media is connected is not connected at all. It's not human. It's there is a sense of connectedness because you're part of some vague group of people who sometimes have a similar cultural reference because the internet is a culture in itself. But that's still not being connected to a person that where you can open up. And I feel that is something completely different and something that actually needs to be tackled a lot, but doesn't seem like that's a priority in most cultures and societies currently. I think it's a big need, and a lot of people talk about it, that it's very important. But I think that's people that say that, but on a systemic, structural, political, whatever level, it feels like there's no importance in that area.
In terms of like social interaction,
In
or
terms
in
of
terms of loneliness and addressing that.
all of it,
Yeah.
the way we talk to each other, what we talk to each other, how we're connecting, how we're treating people, how we're connected to ourselves, how we can help each other connect to ourselves, and all of the things that you touched upon. I think a lot of people, when you talk to them, like in private or just like friends, family, they all say that this would be nice to have. This would be important. But I feel it's not of priority when it comes to anything that is on a structural systemic level. Because then we talk about economy and wars and, things that are exactly the opposite of that.
Right. Systems that are in place to exploit people or divide versus bringing them together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, and a lot of those systems are actively releasing propaganda, whether it's in the media or social media, that are designed to divide us from ourselves. So, and I think that the most powerful, it's like yes to what you're saying in every aspect. And then also looking inward and knowing that you have to have a relationship with yourself first. You have to like, for me, I have to have a relationship to my spiritual side. I think that's really important to me, to have tools to process emotions and information, and then community, obviously. But if I am always, even if I'm relying on community 100% of the time too, then I'm caring way too much about what other people might think of me or letting other people make decisions for me. So I feel like the aspect of life starting internally and being reflected on the outside through what starts on the inside is something we don't talk about enough. And that's also super important because the way that you're going to see the world is through the lens that you're looking through. So I myself have to know when I'm looking through a lens that's negative, and I have to shift that. I have to go, oh, I'm looking through these glasses today. I have to take them off and put a different glasses on, a pair of glasses on. But like just having some sort of relationship with yourself that involves compassion and reflection, and your happiness coming from your own opinion of yourself versus other people's opinion of myself. Because there were many years where I listened to what society told me I should do, or I majored in criminology and law. Sure, I could have been a great lawyer, but I would have been so unhappy. It it would have made me miserable. So then I wouldn't get off the path of dance. Like, I kept going down it, and then I went back to acting, and still I had this hesitation. Like, I never fully jumped So I think with music this time, I'm fully giving myself permission to jump, and just see instead of holding on to what society has told me that I have to do, which is like, you have to keep a responsible job. I have a responsible job. I have the knowledge, I have the experience to work with other people. I'm confident of that at this point in my life. Like, you don't have to be scared anymore. So I think that, we have to make decisions out of wisdom. If I was 25, I wouldn't be like, oh, I could just be a coach, right? Like, I can be a coach full time now or part time because I have the life experience and I've studied it and I'm certified and I've done a lot of work on myself. I've read a lot of books to understand self-development. Um, so I think that you have to, before you jump full on into being a creative and have big goals, you do have to figure certain things out. But I don't know. I just think no matter what, you have to stay on the path, and that community is a big part of it.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think there's one thing that I want to add to, and it's a bit of a. I think it's true that you have to come back to yourself and connect with yourself to have a lot of answers that you cannot get from the outside world. But I also feel that there is a paradox within that, because if you don't have any guidance to what you're looking for within you and how to tackle things that maybe are just so far out of your reference, because we all have our frame of reference and it sometimes needs other thoughts to see the world differently.
Often.
And and I feel that this is unfortunately a part of it, that you have probably an entire generation that grows up with guidance a guidance that comes from a, how do you say that, like a social media influencer world, where everything is broken down into simplistic statements and red flags or whatever kind of flags, and I don't know, people who are bigots or not, and patriarchy or not, and like all these buzzwords that are floating around, and it's all labels, and all the nuance that is within there is just,
Yes.
it's just something that you would experience in real life and learn from that. So I feel that there's a, it's so how do you bring these people to themselves, like there has to be, in my opinion, somebody who's actually guiding to be able to come back to yourself.
Well, and I think that we are all interconnected, and I think that there is a responsibility, in my opinion, if you're conscious and you want to make the world a better place and you want to change these aspects of the world that are not working for people, where we have to get outside of our comfort zone and be of service. So I volunteer my time, and I don't always want to volunteer my time. Sometimes there's something that I really want to do, but I've said, okay, I'm going to go volunteer. I think showing up in community is one of the biggest ways that we can combat loneliness and combat, authoritarianism. But somebody like you or I, who are both coaches, like going out into the world and just being present for people and being able to see people and validate their circumstances in some sort of like whatever forum that is really important. Like, my husband does what, quote unquote, like men's work, which he's part of a group that is all about deconstructing toxic masculinity and stepping into healthy masculinity. And that's made such a huge difference on our marriage, but in his life. Like, he feels a sense of connectivity to a whole group of men, and they're all like moving towards their goals and they care about each other, and get to hear each other and give input to each other. And I think that especially for men, that's difficult. And I do hear you. the nuance of life experience is so important, and things aren't black and white. And there's so many people that I know who maybe like disagree with me on certain issues, but we can find like a middle ground if we talk in person and want to find a middle ground. But you can't do that over social media, especially, I've tried, especially because people, again, are looking through their own lens. And like, I'll have somebody say something like kind of like really rude to me when I was like genuinely trying to be kind. And they took my words, and put their own tone on them because they can't hear my tone of voice. And in Buddhism, we say the voice does the Buddha's work. There's also a phrase that like the tongue is an axe, meaning like it's powerful. And like our writing to each other is powerful. We have to watch our words, and we have to use a positive tone of voice, or a tone that comes from the heart. You can't hear that online at all. So that to me is a big problem, is that it's like this isolation chamber where whatever you're feeling, you're reading these things, but you're feeling it through whatever emotions you're experiencing at that time. And if you read the same thing in 3 days, it might feel different to you, right? But it's all very influential, especially on youth. And how can we, how can we go about to change this whole system that's now been created? That's bananas. So
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that this would be another 2-hour conversation.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think that there were some nice last words, I think, and I'll leave it at that for this conversation.
Well, I want to say one thing, which is kind of ties in everything that we were just talking about back to the Hideaway and what you said earlier. And you said early in this conversation, you said, I think the voice is like the most powerful instrument. And I had like this flashback to the first time that you and I met. And we had a great conversation. We were sitting next to each other singing. We were doing, it was during Jacob was playing, and I think it was this first or second night that I met you that he was playing, and we were standing next to each other in the back of the auditorium through the whole concert. And at the
Oh
end,
yeah.
you started talking to me, and you said I could tell you're a singer. And then, you asked me that question of like, do you play an instrument? And you were one of the people who really solidified that to me, because you looked at me and you were like, I think the voice is probably the most powerful instrument. And I was like, whoa, I had never heard anybody say that before. You were the first person that I heard say that. So thank you, because that really set the stage for me for the next 3 or 4 days and all the information I was getting in. And I really appreciated that conversation we had.
Yeah, I'm happy that's so funny because I remember the moment now that you mentioned it, but you don't know what impacts others, That's so interesting. To me, that was just a comment because that's how I felt, but I didn't know that it had like an impact on you. So it's nice to hear.
It was a huge impact. I think I wrote it in one of my journals, but it's funny because I forgot about it. Like that week was so full of so much that I forgot about it until you said it again. And I was like, oh, it was you who said that to me.
Mm.
So,
I think
yeah.
I remember also that we were in, who was it in the class where
David?
David.
Yes.
David, exactly. Yeah, we were in the class, and in the end we had to write some poems, like I don't know poems, but some words. We had to write down some words that were inside. I don't remember actually what the exercise was, but I remember that people were starting to share, and it was such a great moment as well. Like people just hearing what's currently in them, and yeah, I love that. I love that moment.
The whole experience was so magical. I mean, just this like idea of a creative retreat for musicians where we're all sharing so much of, it's like we're learning from everybody else, but then the conversations that you have with just every single person outside of each class was a learning moment as well. I just learned so much from each person that I talked to.
That's why I do these episodes, yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, and when I saw them, I was like, "This is such an amazing thing," because you really are, like, you're continuing the energy.
And you're coming, right, to Italy?
I'm coming to Italy, and so is my husband.
That's so great.
So,
I can't wait to see you again
yeah, me
and
too.
also meet your husband.
Yes, I think you guys are gonna get along really well, and, I'm super excited for him to meet you, and there's some other people that did you meet Gabe? I know Gabe's coming again.
I
There's a
think I
couple
know
other
who he
people who
is,
are
yeah.
coming, that I'm really excited to see
Mm,
again and not sleep for an entire week with.
exactly.
We're up
Exactly.
all night just talking and doing and jamming and doing music, that was the most special thing to me. I remember going to sleep one morning. I was like, "I gotta go to bed," and it was, 4:30 AM, and I'm sitting in bed, and I just keep hearing, recorders, pass outside the hotel room window or, some other strange instrument or people harmonizing in the distance, and I was like, "This is something I've never experienced before. This is just pure
Yeah.
magic."
Yeah, it was great. And it's going
Yeah.
to be great again. So, yeah, thank you, Ash. Thank you for the conversation. I enjoyed it a lot. So, I wish you a good day.
Thank you
And
so much.
I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely, and, until then,
Yeah, see you. Bye.
see you, bye.